What if every time you fell in love, you risked losing yourself? What if the very thing you crave the most, deep, passionate connection, could also be the chain that steals your freedom? Simone de Beauvoir didn't see love as a sweet fairy tale. She saw it as a dangerous dance between desire and independence, intimacy and selfhood. And here's the unsettling truth. If you cannot stand firmly in your own freedom, your love will never be real. To truly love someone, you must first become yourself. And to become yourself, you must risk standing alone. Simone de Beauvoir, one of the most influential existentialist thinkers of the 20th century, lived a life that challenged conventional norms. Her partnership with Jean-Paul Sartre, unconventional and fiercely independent, became a living laboratory for her ideas about love and freedom. But her philosophy is not just about her personal life. It's about all of us who seek to reconcile the pull of intimacy with the need for selfhood. In her writings, she dismantles the illusion that love should be a fusion where two people dissolve into one. Instead, she argues, authentic love is a meeting of two freedoms, a conscious choice to engage without possession, domination, or self-erasure. Think about how many relationships you've seen built on dependency rather than mutual growth. In such arrangements, one person becomes the center of the other's existence, and the result is not harmony but suffocation. De Beauvoir warns us about this dynamic. She calls it the myth of fusion, the idea that true love means losing yourself in another. This myth is seductive because it promises security and certainty, but it robs both partners of the chance to grow. When you give up your freedom to be with someone, you may gain their approval, but lose the most vital part of yourself, your capacity to choose, to act, to create meaning. And without freedom, love curdles into resentment. But de Beauvoir does not advocate cold detachment or solitary isolation. She speaks of an authentic love where two individuals stand as equals, each rooted in their own projects, their own sense of purpose, and yet reaching out to the other in generosity and joy. This love does not demand sacrifice of one's essence. It celebrates it. Imagine a relationship where your partner does not clip your wings, but helps you discover new skies, where your growth is not a threat, but an inspiration. That is the love de Beauvoir envisions, a dynamic interplay of freedom and commitment, of selfhood and connection. At the core of this philosophy is the existential idea that we are not fixed beings, but ongoing projects. We are always becoming, always shaping ourselves through our choices. Love, in this context, is not about finding your other half, but about meeting another free being along your path of becoming. When you treat someone as an extension of yourself, you reduce them to an object. But when you recognize their freedom, you allow them to be a subject in their own right. And in doing so, you open the door to a love that is alive, unpredictable, and capable of transformation. This is not an easy vision. It asks you to confront your own insecurities. It asks you to resist the temptation to possess or be possessed. It asks you to build a life so grounded in your own values and projects that you can offer love without desperation. De Beauvoir understood how radical this was, especially for women in a society that taught them to define themselves through men. She saw that authentic love could not flourish in a world of inequality, where one partner's freedom was privileged over the other's. True love requires mutual recognition, a constant reaffirmation of the other's subjectivity and freedom. Consider how this philosophy shifts the way we think about commitment. Instead of a contract of ownership, it becomes a living dialogue. Instead of promises carved in stone, it becomes a series of daily choices. This doesn't mean love is weak or transient. On the contrary, it becomes stronger because it is chosen freely. It becomes a creative act rather than a static state. You can wake up every day and say, I choose you again, not because I am bound, but because I am free. That choice, made in freedom, is infinitely more powerful than any obligation. We can also see how de Beauvoir's ideas intersect with a quest for personal growth and self-actualization. Becoming yourself is not a solitary climb up a mountain, but an ongoing engagement with the world and with others. Love, when authentic, can be a catalyst for this becoming, but it can also be an obstacle if it turns into a dependency. She challenges us to ask, does this relationship help me expand my world, or does it confine me? Does it encourage my freedom, or does it demand my submission? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the doorway to a more profound and liberating love. Her writings remind us that freedom is not simply the absence of constraints, but the presence of purpose. It is the ability to define your own values and live by them, even when it is difficult. Love, in its highest form, supports this process. It does not dictate who you should be. It invites you to become more fully yourself. This means that love is not a retreat from the challenge of existence, but an arena in which you practice the art of freedom together. It is a shared journey, not a merger. If you reflect on your own experiences, you may recognize moments when you compromised your freedom in the name of love, or when someone tried to limit your growth out of fear. Those moments often lead to tension and disillusionment because they violate something essential in us. De Beauvoir offers a way out of this trap. She shows that love need not be a zero-sum game where one wins and the other loses. It can be a partnership of equals, where both are enriched by the presence of the other without sacrificing their own becoming. To embrace Simone de Beauvoir's vision of love and freedom is to accept that no one else can complete you, and you cannot complete anyone else. This can feel lonely at first because it shatters the comforting myths we grow up with. Yet hidden within this discomfort is a liberating truth. If you are already whole, love becomes a choice rather than a necessity. You can give without clinging, receive without losing yourself, and share your life without erasing your individuality. This is not the death of romance. It is the birth of a deeper, more authentic intimacy. De Beauvoir's philosophy also forces us to examine the power dynamics that shape relationships. Many people confuse control with care. They think that to love someone is to dictate their choices, to keep them close by restricting their freedom. But this is not love. It is ownership, and ownership poisons both parties. When you hold someone too tightly, you may think you are protecting them, but you are really protecting your own fear of abandonment. Authentic love, by contrast, asks you to let go of this fear and trust in the freedom of the other person. It asks you to give them space to breathe, to grow, to change, and to keep choosing you because they want to, not because they have no other option. This is why de Beauvoir's thought remains so urgent today. We live in a culture saturated with images of perfect couples, grand gestures, and eternal vows. We are told that love should be all-consuming, that merging with someone is the ultimate goal. Yet this narrative leaves countless people feeling anxious, restless, and unsatisfied. It sets them up for heartbreak because no human being can fulfill another completely. By redefining love as a meeting of two freedoms, de Beauvoir offers a healthier model. It is no less passionate. It is simply more honest. It recognizes that passion can burn brighter when it is not fueled by fear. There is also a creative dimension to her idea of becoming yourself. She believed that every person is a project in progress, a story still being written. Love, in this context, is not about reading the same script together forever, but about co-authoring new chapters while each maintains their own voice. In practice, this means supporting your partner's dreams even when they diverge from your own. It means celebrating their growth even when it changes the relationship. And it means being willing to grow yourself, to let love challenge you to become more authentic, not less. Think of a moment when you felt most alive in a relationship. Chances are it was not when you felt owned or controlled, but when you felt seen and encouraged. That moment reflects what de Beauvoir calls authentic love, a love that does not reduce but expands. Such love requires courage. It demands that you confront your insecurities instead of hiding behind rules or roles. It asks you to risk vulnerability without expecting someone else to fix your life. And in return, it offers a connection that is richer and more resilient than any dependency could be. This philosophy also transforms how we view breakups and loss. If love is a choice made in freedom, then its end is not necessarily a failure, but a transition. When two paths diverge, it may be painful, but it is also an opportunity for growth. De Beauvoir's own life reflects this understanding. Her bond with Sartre endured precisely because it was rooted in freedom rather than obligation. They allowed each other to explore, to change, to form other connections. Whether or not one agrees with every detail of their arrangement, the principle stands. Freedom sustains love better than control ever could. For those of us seeking to apply these ideas, the first step is self-knowledge. Ask yourself, what are my values? What projects give my life meaning? Am I entering relationships to escape loneliness or to share abundance? Am I trying to mold someone into my image, or am I willing to meet them as they are? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are essential if we want to move from dependency to authentic connection. Without them, we risk falling into the very trap de Beauvoir warns about, confusing possession with passion, comfort with commitment, fusion with intimacy. The second step is to practice mutual recognition. This means seeing the other not as an instrument for your happiness, but as a subject in their own right. It means respecting their time, their choices, and their ambitions. It means celebrating their freedom even when it challenges your expectations. This does not weaken the bond. It strengthens it. Because when both partners are free, each, I choose you, carries real weight. It is not a reflex. It is an act of creation. Finally, de Beauvoir calls us to accept the open-ended nature of existence. There are no guarantees in authentic love. There is only the ongoing effort to affirm one another's freedom while remaining true to your own. This can sound precarious, but it is actually the most solid foundation you can have. Because when love is grounded in freedom, it does not depend on illusions. It grows from reality, and reality, though uncertain, is always richer than fantasy. Simone de Beauvoir's insights on love, freedom, and becoming yourself are not a set of rigid rules, but an invitation to live more courageously. They ask us to build relationships that nurture rather than confine, to choose partners who inspire rather than possess, and to cultivate a selfhood strong enough to love without fear. They show us that love and freedom are not enemies, but allies in the great adventure of becoming who we are meant to be. What would your relationships look like if you embraced this vision? If you chose to love not from need, but from freedom, not to escape yourself, but to express yourself more fully? Would you dare to let go of the myths of possession and discover what authentic intimacy feels like? Take a moment to reflect on this. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that love can only thrive where there is freedom, or do you think some degree of fusion is necessary for intimacy? Your perspective might help someone else on their journey. And if you found value in these ideas, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future explorations of philosophy and the art of living.